Welcome back, everyone, to I Am HR. Thank you for joining us again. I do have some breaking news. For those of you who are unaware, we are still in the midst of a pandemic. And this next session revolves around the challenges that has really forced a lot of organizations to go through, specifically the healthcare industry. The nursing shortage is something our next guest has been up against way before the pandemic struck, and it was only compiled because of this pandemic. And the director of talent acquisition strategy and operations at Mercy, one of the largest Catholic healthcare systems in the United States, knows firsthand the importance of university recruiting as a key sourcing and recruiting strategy for not just the nursing field, but really all recruiting strategies as a whole. But this year, campus recruiting has sans campus. That's French for without, for those of you who didn't pay attention in French. I know I didn't. So campus recruiting has had to go through a complete overhaul, switching from these large, very extravagant in-person events with swag as far as the eye can see that really no one ends up using. And now we're stuck with this less glamorous alternative, something that we all know very well, these virtual Zoom, Google Meet, all of these virtual hangout sort of situations. And it's really created a challenge. So please join me in welcoming Kayla Drady as she explains what's driving interest in faster applications among the critical talent pool of students and recent grads to get some of the most important frontline positions filled as quickly and efficiently as possible. Kayla?
Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining me today to talk about the top hacks for virtual university recruiting. And this new normal that we're living in due to COVID, we at Mercy definitely had to change completely our recruitment strategies to deal with the virtual world that we're living in and to keep up with the high demand of hiring nurses. Nurses now are in higher demand than they ever were before, and we're also dealing with, a global pandemic, a nursing shortage. So over the past 10 months, we really have had to be innovative and think differently to find new ways to reach candidates and to keep up with our increased staffing needs. University recruiting and hiring new grads has always been a very, very important piece to our strategy as we hire hundreds of new grads a year. We can start recruiting new grads anywhere from 6 to 9 months prior to the graduation date. So today we've already hired a number of nurses who don't even graduate to May, but they've accepted a position with us and are set to start in June. With the important emphasis of new grad recruitment, we would typically pre-COVID hire or host many in-person events to really roll out the red carpet experience by hosting on-site sit-down dinners for them, where we would bring them into the hospital, have dinners for them where they can meet with our chief nursing officer and all of our nurse managers and give them a tour of our hospital and show them the different units and departments that they would be working in. We would host lunch and learns, whether that would be on site at our hospital or also going to our universities and hosting lunch and learns in their classrooms. We would also host traditional, open houses, attend career fairs at the schools, and also have career fairs on site at our hospitals. And then we would also do, interview days, classroom visits, really anything that you can think of, you name it, we've done it. But when COVID hit, we could no longer host these in-person events and had to immediately start brainstorming new ideas to make sure that we were still reaching these candidates prior to graduation. Today, I'm going to walk you through a variety of ways in which we've leveraged virtual recruiting to stay an employer of choice in our communities in which we serve our patients, and how we've continued to hire hundreds of new grads into our organization. So a few things that I'll share with you today are, find what are those new ways to attract and reach our talent, right? We can no longer go on site, no longer do the career fairs that we once did. So how do we make sure that we're continuing to have our pipeline and not put our foot off the gas and really continuing to recruit those new grads? Also leveraging our career site and using it to really showcase all of our events that we're hosting, whether it is Zoom sessions or virtual chats. And then really utilizing the SMS keyword feature within the CRM. This has been a really great success for us to use this at all of our events, and we've used these in a variety of different ways. And then I'll also talk to you about really developing a strategy on how you advertise these events and reach more students. So first, I'm going to speak about the different virtual events we've hosted, continue to reach candidates, and continue to drive interest, and make things more convenient for our candidates. Students right now are more overwhelmed than they've ever been. It's been tough on them to learn virtually and all the other stressors that we've had during this pandemic. So we really wanted to come up with different options and really make it user-friendly and quick and convenient to the candidates to ensure that we're, continuing to hire these new grad nurses as we're hiring more than we ever have in years past. So first, we hosted a series of virtual career fairs and chats. Our candidates are able to log on from a computer, a mobile device, tablet, and chat instantly with our nurse recruiters to learn more about our openings. This is a quick and easy way for their students to log on literally from anywhere, whether it's if they're at home or they're at school or over a friend's house, wherever they may be, they can log on and chat with us. And they're very brief sessions. So typically they last 10 minutes or less, and we're able to just share with them the opportunities that we have. And then make sure that they're leaving the chat with a scheduled interview, either with the recruiter or the hiring manager. We set these up with a wide time frame so that they're able to try to find a way to log on, whatever works with their work or their school schedule. We know that they're busy, so we're really able, now that we no longer have to leave and be on site for these career fairs, and we can do them from the comfort of our own homes as recruiters, we are able to extend the time. And it's very convenient for the recruiters because they can be logged onto their computer. And if it's a little bit slower, then the recruiter can also be working and multitasking and checking emails and things like that. So these have been very successful for us. We've also hosted a number of webinar sessions. So we had a webinar series in the month of November where we would choose topics that were relatable to students and help them when they're transitioning from college into a full-time position and into the real world. So as you can see here, there are a few different topics that we chose that we thought would really resonate with the students and give them quick tips on what can they expect after nursing school, right? They're getting ready to graduate, and the first session we held was all around interviewing tips, resume writing tips for looking for a job, what job title should they be searching for, things like that. All of those things that they may not have learned in school. They ask the questions of, should I include a cover letter? Should I include my GPA and my resume? Does that matter? Do you care if that's on there? So, interviewing and applying for a job can be very, very stressful. So we wanted to give them as many tips as possible to help to ease their anxiety. Another session that we had was with our Senior Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer, and she really spoke about, the current nursing climate today and how we're leveraging technology to improve healthcare. All of these sessions were co-facilitated with a recruiter as well. So during that one, we had a recruiter that was on, but we really allowed our Chief Nursing Officer to spend some time with the students. And lastly, the third and final webinar series that we hosted was, what can students expect? Okay, now they've interviewed, they've applied, they've accepted a position with them. Well, what does the training and orientation look like as a new grad nurse? How long will I be in training? Is it, just a few weeks or maybe a couple of months? And what can I expect to learn? What knowledge and what classroom didactics and things like that will I be given during the onboarding session? So we were able to bring in some of our training facilitators to lead that one. We hosted these webinar sessions via Zoom, but we advertised them on our career events page. So we would post the event out on our events page, and in the event description, we would include the Zoom link. These webinar sessions, they were really more around brand awareness. Again, we wanted it to be relatable for them to call in and learn about topics in the moment that are of interest to them. But of course, we wanted to, throw in their information of how they can join the Mercy team. So again, we set up an SMS keyword. so that, if they wanted more information, we could throw that in there at the beginning of the presentation, and then also again at the end of the webinar series, it says for more information, text new grad to 39522, and we will have a recruiter reach out to you immediately to discuss opportunities with you. That's a really great way to get their contact information into the CRM quick and easy, and we were able to capture so many leads from hosting these sessions. Another thing we offered was virtual information sessions to allow students to join and actually speak with our recruiters and have a Q&A session. We hosted these virtual chats, like I spoke about just on previously. We hosted the virtual chats. We also did the webinars, but they didn't really allow the candidates enough time to, speak with the recruiters and have a direct conversation where they could ask, questions to us. Where we can answer, not in a chat format. So what we were able to do is host these 20-minute sessions. We know how busy students are, so we wanted it to be quick and easy again. And then we held multiple sessions on different days and times to be flexible with their schedule. And then again, we set up the SMS keyword so that if they were not able to join one of the sessions, or if they did have additional questions that maybe they just didn't have enough time to ask us because they were moving so quickly since they were quick 20-minute sessions, then they could send in their contact information, and then again, the recruiter would reach out to them directly. One thing pre-COVID we were doing was we were constantly visiting schools to meet with students and share more about Mercy and our openings. We would host lunch and learns at the school. We would attend nurse association meetings. We would even, set up tables outside in the student lobby or outside of, the coffee shop, bring them donuts, really anything that we could do to get in front of them and share, about Mercy and the opportunities that we have. We also, we have really great partnerships with our universities that are in our local markets. And so we built strong relationships with the professors at a lot of our schools close by. And a lot of times they'll give us classroom times that we can come in and share information with the students. Sometimes though, they only give us, 10 to 15 minutes because they have a lot to fit in that classroom time. So even though they're allowing us to come on site and speak with the students, it was, quick 10, 15 minutes. So now that school is virtual, or even if they were in person, we still weren't able to go on site. So we were still able to, because we have such great relationships with our university partners, we were still able to set up time where we could Zoom into the classes. And then again, what we would do is we would set up a private event within the CRM. So we wouldn't share these out on our career site, but set up the private event. And that way, again, we can enable the SMS keyword so that while we were speaking with them, we were still able to share that number with them so that they could text in their information. Another really great thing about using the technology and being able to host all of these events virtually is we can now reach so many more candidates than we have ever been able to before. Pre-COVID, we were hosting all of these in person, and it took so much time and manpower, to plan the events at every single hospital location. We'd have to go in and set them up. Typically, we would bring in like little snacks and things like that. And then also when we were going to these schools, we would have to travel to many different universities and then sharing the same presentation over and over again at the different colleges. Where now all we have to do is host one event and we're able to reach students from all across the country. So that really opens up our talent pool. They no longer have to live in one of our markets to attend one of our events. So it allows us to be more efficient while reaching more students. So how are we advertising for these events? You use your resources and advertise as much as possible that you can for free. So put everything on your events page. We also use the events widget as well. So we have our events page within the career site, but then on our homepage, we have the widget on there so that maybe if somebody doesn't actually click on our event page, it's still front and center on our homepage where it piques their interest. And then if they see something that they're interested in, then they can click on it and go to the registration page. So that's been super helpful Again, we post every event out there, whether it is just a quick informational Zoom session, include the Zoom link within the description. So that's been a really, really great success for us to make sure that we're putting everything out on our events page. Utilize, the CRM and the SMS and the email campaigns to spread the word to the masses. It's so quick and easy to set up and send out a email blast or a text campaign. I mean, literally, it only takes minutes to do that, and you can send it to thousands of candidates. And one thing I would also recommend is using your analytics to see who's opening your e-blasts, and then follow up with those individuals with a text blast. So that's something that we constantly do. We're checking, using our analytics to make sure that we're remarketing those that are clicking or opening and things like that. Typically, we send these campaigns out a week before the event, but test it out and see what works for you and your company. For us, that's where we found our sweet spot, is to do it a week beforehand. People are busy, things are constantly popping up, so you don't want to send it out too early because they may forget about it, or maybe they register and then something pops up and they're unable to attend. I know sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, a few weeks from now. So we found that sending the first e-blast a week out before the event, and then following up with another e-blast, and then also SMS campaigns days leading up to the event, has really been successful, just as a reminder for them to join. And market your events on social media. So another great way to advertise for free, use Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Those are all platforms that we have. We have at Mercy, we do have a Mercy Careers Facebook page, in which we're posting all of our events out on our careers page. And then we have a really great partnership with our internal marketing team, and they are able to share our events out on our main Mercy social media accounts as well. But what we do is we drive all of the candidates back to the event registration page so that they're going to our career site, and we're able, again, to capture their candidate information into our CRM. One thing to note too, an important tip, is make sure that your registration form is as quick as possible for the candidates to complete. I mean, if they're on their mobile device and they have, they're distracted and doing other things, you just want a few different categories for them to fill out, like their contact information, their name, anything that's obviously that you need that's important for the event for them to register. But again, try to keep it as short as possible. Another way that we've really been successful of advertising our events is creating flyers and sending them to our university partners. So I would recommend creating a list of all of your contacts at the universities that you have partners with, whether it's professors, faculty staff, admins, deans of the colleges, anybody that you can build that relationship with, and then create a list of their contact information within the CRM. And then you can quickly create a flyer and blast that flyer out to them to ask them to help spread the word to all of the students. Ask them to post it on their internal job boards, or maybe they have an internal site that their students are checking. Any way that we can get that to the students. And that's great free advertising for us, because typically the students or the professors want their students to accept a position as soon as they graduate. So they're always more than willing to blast that out to all of their students. Again, I know I mentioned this several times, so I don't want to keep hitting hard on this, but the SMS keyword feature has been amazing for us. Quick and easy way to get the candidates into your CRM. Before we had this feature, when we would attend career fairs in person on site, a lot of times we were just collecting their resumes, right? They're coming and they're handing their resume to us, and then we're having to go back and then give it to the appropriate recruiter if it's not, a resume that would fit for one of the positions that we have open. And then a lot of times also the students wouldn't even bring a resume. So then we're just missing their contact information altogether. So making sure, that we set up this text campaign that allows us to have their information within our CRM within a matter of seconds. Another tip is to add those candidates so that as you plan to a list, so that as you plan more events, you can include them in your future SMS and e-blast as well to continue to grow your outreach. And then another thing that we have done as well is we've used the tagging feature So we've been more strategic about tagging them with the year that they're graduating. So if it's a 2020 grad, we'll tag them as 2020 grad or 2021 grad. That way, years on in the future, we're thinking big picture here. An overall strategy that in a year from now or 2 years from now, if there's a specific position where we need somebody that's an experienced nurse and not a new grad nurse, then we could go back to those candidates on that list that were tagged with 2020, and now they've had a year of experience. So this is somebody that maybe I want to reach out to now, and we have their information put together on a list, so it's quick and easy to identify who those candidates are. So those are all the top hacks and tips that I have for you today. I hope you have found this very beneficial and can use some of these ideas at your organization, as I know we're all having to recruit differently during this pandemic. So I hope this was great information for you, and really thank you all for your time today.
Kayla, that was awesome. Thank you so much for all of those tips and tricks. One thing that I wanted to ask is your new hires, or really just hires in general, do you refer to them as the Drady bunch?
You know what? Yes, I will. I like that. We have not, but that's something that I will definitely take back to my team to say all of our new hires, we will refer to them as the Drady bunch.
I think it could be a tag in the CRM for you.
There we go.
This is awesome. Awesome. I loved all of the tips and tricks. They are absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. And hopefully we see you soon in person once everything calms down a bit. But we wish you the best and talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. That was Kayla Drady from Mercy Health talking about her tips and tricks around university recruiting in the time of a global pandemic. Lots and lots of good stuff there. If you're interested in more, you can always download the Mercy case study at phenompeople.com underneath the resource tab. I can promise you there is even more great insight there. And one thing that isn't in there is their tips and tricks are far better than mine when I was a university recruiter. In order to attract people to my booth, I would literally just fall down. One time I leaned up against the table, it collapsed, most embarrassing thing ever. However, the students were lined up. So maybe that will work for you as well. But the Mercy case study certainly will. In the meantime, plenty more great sessions lined up here at I Am HR. So stay tuned and we'll have another one lined up for you in just a moment. Thanks.